It's interesting that two major 1980s sci-fi franchises are enjoying a recent resurgence, two films held in much the same regard with respect to their cultural impact in the genre of science fiction and cinema. Frank Herbert's Dune, which was of course adapted from the novel into a film in 1984, and then again in 2021, and most recently with a sequel in 2024. And then there's Tron, released in 1982, with a sequel made in 2010, and as I've mentioned many times, I'm very fond of that sequel, Tron Legacy. And I think, in particular in recent years, it's kind of transitioned from being an underappreciated guilty pleasure movie to going on to develop its own cult following. Its immersive visuals and the unforgettable environments of the grid, married with the incredible soundscapes created by Daft Punk, a strong father-son story, great performances and action set pieces, it's a film with a lot going for it. And there was a core audience that wanted a follow-up to that film. A third film was in the works, continuing with the current cast of Garrett Hedlund, Jeff Bridges, Bruce Boxleitner, and Olivia Wilde. But although Tron Legacy did pull in $400 million at the box office, its budget of $170 million meant that the film wasn't nearly as successful as Disney hoped. Of course, nowadays, Disney can churn out some rubbish woke movie that underperforms at the box office, and because the DEI money keeps coming in, they don't seem to mind. They'll continue to make franchise sequels no one asked for, as we've seen with the MCU. But back in 2010, a financially underperforming film was often sufficient reason to scrap future sequel plans, or at least put them on hold for quite a while. Well, quite a while has passed now, and a sequel is due to be released in 2025. It's called Tron Ares. Not the Tron film fans wanted, but it seems the Tron film they're going to be given nonetheless. And here is the first publicity still from that film. Now, reports on this film differ. Some say it's a direct sequel to Tron Legacy. Others say it's a totally new, standalone film on its own. It might also be loosely related to those previous two films. Regardless, it doesn't include any of the cast members of the previous two Tron films. So, original cast members Jeff Bridges and Bruce Boxleitner aren't in it, and neither are legacy cast members Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde. The film stars Jared Leto, Gillian Anderson, Evan Peters, Greta Lee, Cameron Monaghan, Jodie Turner-Smith, Sarah Desjardins, Hassan Minhaj, and Arturo Castro. I mean, seriously, trying to have a Tron film without at least having Jeff Bridges, and also the man who played Tron, Bruce Boxleitner, is like making a Terminator film without Arnold Schwarzenegger. And although, yes, the Terminator sequels after Terminator 2 just got worse and worse, there's no denying that Arnie's absence from Terminator Salvation didn't do that film any favours, and his presence in Terminator 3, Genesis and Dark Fate was perhaps the only highlight of those films. All we do know is that Jared Leto will play the character of Ares. I wanted to talk now about this article from ScreenRant.com. Tron Ares is worrying after radical setting change tease. The official synopsis of Tron Ares means that there might be a radical and worrying change in the setting compared to the first two Tron movies. So I'm going to take a look at a couple of excerpts from this article. The full article is available for you to read from the link below in the description box. While only a few details about the Tron Ares story have emerged, the official synopsis states Tron Ares follows a highly sophisticated program, Ares, who is sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission, marking humankind's first encounter with AI beings. If this movie is about a new program going to the real world on some kind of mission, that would mean time spent in the grid would be limited. Both of the first two Tron films spend the majority of the film within the grid, so a shift to a story outside that virtual world would be a major deviation. And later the article says, the first images of Jared Leto's character in Tron Ares seems to show a red-lighted character inside the grid, but the official synopsis leans toward this character quickly breaking free from the grid, which would be a major disappointment. This change from the first two films would mean very limited light cycles, identity disks, computerized cities, outlands, or any of the defining features of that computer program. After Tron Legacy received terrible critic reviews, it would seem as though Disney is taking Tron Ares and leaving behind the franchise's most iconic elements. Yes, and I would argue, it also appears to be leaving behind its most iconic characters. A Tron film based primarily off the grid is simply a film that moves too far from the central premise. I also wonder if the character Tron is actually in the film. Perhaps they might recast him, but to me, you're never going to beat Bruce Boxleitner. Ultimately, the grid, the characters, and the action that takes place there, that's the central component of a Tron story. I cannot understand how after 14 years that Disney hasn't figured out that there's an appetite for a Tron Legacy story to continue in some form. But I think they've left it too late, and while Tron Legacy has developed a new appreciation in recent years, a brand new Tron film with none of the original cast members will feel ultimately disconnected and too much like a franchise reboot. And to make matters worse, basing the film primarily in the real world as opposed to on the grid will just further alienate fans. Why Disney can't simply listen to audiences at this point is beyond me. This is indeed very disappointing news. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe for more, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. The Dave Cullen Show is made possible by you, my generous subscribers. If you'd like to support my work, head on over to my Subscribe star, linked below in the description box, and for a pledge of as little as $1 per month, you can help to keep the show going. I'm also doing one-to-one monthly subscriber chats. Thanks again. Take care.